The moment the billionaire collapsed on the polished marble floor, the entire building froze, but one exhausted single mother kept moving. In the bright, unforgiving daylight streaming through the glass atrium, while others panicked or stared, her shaking hands dropped a mop, and she ran toward a man the world believed was untouchable. That single, desperate act, one kiss given not from love, but from instinct and mercy, would quietly rewrite both of their lives forever. If you believe that kindness can change destinies and that second chances arrive when we least expect them, please take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who believes in goodness, and subscribe to Kindness Tales, where real humanity still matters. Maribel Cruz had been awake since before sunrise, as she was every day. Morning light was her enemy and her ally. It revealed the stains on the office floors she cleaned, but it also reminded her that another day meant another chance to keep her small family afloat. She worked as a janitor in one of the tallest corporate towers in the city, a place of glass walls and expensive silence, where her name badge was invisible to most people. By mid-morning, sweat clung to her uniform, her arms ached, and her thoughts kept drifting to her 7-year-old son, Leo, waiting at school with a lunch she hoped was enough. Life had not been gentle with Maribel since her husband died in a construction accident 3 years earlier, leaving her with debt, grief, and a child who still asked why his father never came home. The building was buzzing more than usual that day. Important executives moved faster, assistants whispered urgently, and security guards stood straighter. Maribel did not know much about corporate power, but she knew the name Rowan Blackwell. Everyone did. He was the billionaire owner of the building, a self-made titan whose face appeared on magazines and business channels. To Maribel, he was just another man in an expensive suit who never noticed the people who cleaned up after him. That morning, she saw him across the atrium, walking briskly in the daylight, phone in hand, jaw tight with focus. He looked pale, though she barely registered it before returning to her work. Then everything shattered in seconds. Rowan Blackwell staggered, his confident stride breaking apart like glass, and he collapsed hard onto the floor. The echo of his fall rippled through the space. People screamed. Some froze. Others reached for their phones instead of his pulse. Maribel felt her heart slam against her ribs as if it recognized danger before her mind did. She dropped her cleaning cart and ran, her shoes slipping slightly on the polished surface. Training videos she had watched years ago about workplace emergencies flooded her mind, half forgotten but urgent. Rowan lay motionless, his skin turning an unnatural shade, his chest barely moving. Someone shouted for help. Someone else yelled about calling an ambulance. Maribel knelt beside him, ignoring the stairs, the expensive shoes surrounding them, the invisible line that said she did not belong there. She checked his breathing, felt the terrifying absence of rhythm, and understood with horrifying clarity that waiting could kill him. Panic threatened to paralyze her, but the memory of Leo gasping during a childhood asthma attack snapped her into action. She tilted Rowan's head, cleared his airway, and when his breathing did not return, she did the only thing she could think of. She sealed her mouth to his and breathed life into a stranger who had everything except this moment that it was not graceful. It was not heroic in the way movies make it look. It was messy, desperate, and fueled by fear. But after seconds that felt like hours, Rowan's chest jolted, air rushed back into him, and his body fought its way back from the edge. When paramedics finally arrived, daylight filled the atrium again as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Maribel sat back on her heels, trembling, her hands stained not with dirt, but with the weight of what she had just done. The days that followed passed quietly for her. No headlines mentioned her name. No executive stopped to thank her. She returned to her routine of scrubbing floors and stretching meals. Rowan Blackwell, meanwhile, woke in a hospital bed with a pounding headache and a haunting image burned into his memory. He remembered darkness closing in and a face hovering over him. Not polished or powerful, but determined and human. Doctors told him he had suffered a sudden cardiac episode and that immediate action had saved his life. For the first time in decades, Rowan lay still long enough to feel something other than ambition. He felt fragile. He felt grateful. And he felt unsettled by how close he had come to disappearing without ever truly seeing the people around him. Rowan demanded to know who had saved him. Security footage led him not to a trained medic or a high-ranking employee, but to a janitor with tired eyes and a soft posture. The discovery shook him more than the medical diagnosis. He began watching from a distance, noticing things he had ignored for years. He saw Maribel eat lunch alone, carefully counting her minutes. He saw her rub her wrists in pain and still smile at strangers. He learned her name and, eventually, her story, piecing it together through quiet inquiries rather than grand gestures. For the first time in his life, Rowan felt humbled not by loss, but by kindness. Maribel noticed changes too, though she did not understand them at first. Supervisors treated her with sudden respect. Her schedule became more flexible. A small envelope appeared in her locker one afternoon with a handwritten note thanking her for courage and compassion, accompanied by a bonus that made her knees weak. She cried in the supply closet, overwhelmed and suspicious of hope. She had learned the hard way that good things rarely lasted. Still, the daylight seemed warmer, and Leo laughed more when she came home less exhausted. Rowan's transformation unfolded quietly. He returned to work, but the building felt different to him now. He slowed down. He noticed names on badges. He started a fund for emergency training for all staff, insisting that no one be considered invisible again. He arranged for Maribel to receive medical training and educational opportunities, not as charity, but as respect. He never approached her with speeches or promises. He let actions speak where words would have felt too heavy. Over time, Maribel's life shifted in ways she never imagined possible. She moved out of her cramped apartment into a sunlit home near Leo's school. She enrolled in evening classes, studying healthcare, inspired by the moment that had changed everything. She still worked hard, but now with dignity and possibility. Rowan watched her growth with quiet admiration, learning from her resilience in ways no boardroom ever taught him. What bound them was not romance or obligation, but a shared understanding that life could pivot in an instant. Daylight no longer symbolized endless labor for Maribel or relentless pressure for Rowan. It became a reminder of that moment in the atrium, when one human saw another not as a title or a uniform, but as a life worth saving. As this story draws close, if it touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to Kindness Tales, because stories like this only grow when compassion is passed on. And before the ending, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with the word hope if you believe that one small act of courage can change everything.